Hi guys, it's Ben Heath from Lead Guru, and in this video, I'm going to show you exactly how to create Instagram ads in 2021. This is really going to be an Instagram ads for beginners tutorial, and I'll go through the entire process, and you can see sort of over the shoulder view, the exact process. I'm going to go through each step. And if you've never run an Instagram ad before, or perhaps you have, maybe it didn't quite go as well as you wanted, you want to know how to create Instagram ads properly, that's exactly what I'm going to show you in this video. Before I get started, I want to very quickly ask you to smash that like button. That really helps me out. And of course, subscribe to my channel if you haven't done so already. I release Facebook and Instagram advertising related content all the time. Okay, with that out of the way, let's get into it. Let's go through the steps. So I'm in Facebook's Ads Manager, and that's the very first thing I want to mention is you want to be running your Instagram ads through Ads Manager. Facebook owns Instagram. They have one centralized place for their advertising. So from within Facebook's Ads Manager, you could advertise on Facebook or Instagram. I'm going to talk more about that later on, which one you want to use and all that sort of stuff, and how that works. But that's the first thing I need to mention. You can, of course, promote things from within the Instagram app. I would not recommend doing that. The professionals, people who are experienced on this platform, they use Ads Manager. There's much more functionality and you're likely to get much better results if you do. So you need to come into Ads Manager and create your Instagram ads from here, not promote in the app. Now, if you're like, okay, that sounds good, but how do I go into Ads Manager? Where is Ads Manager? How do I set all that up? I've got a separate video that shows you exactly how to create a Facebook Business Manager account, which is kind of like the umbrella account that you create for doing any business related activities across Facebook and Instagram. Then within that, you need to create a Facebook ad account. And you can see exactly how to set up a business manager, to set up an ad account within another video that I'll link to in the description of this video. So just go ahead and check that out. It's how to create a business manager. Within that video, I talk about how to set up an ad account. Once you've been through those steps, if you haven't done so already, you will end up looking at a screen that looks very similar to what I've got in front of me right now, which is Facebook's Ads Manager. And this is where you need to get to then go through the rest of the video. So if you haven't already done that, pause this one for a minute, go ahead and watch that and come back here and we'll go through the process. You'll just find everything a lot easier if you've got it all set up right in the first place. Okay, with that said, let's get started. So we're going to start by, as I said, being an Ads Manager. We're going to click on the green plus create button. Okay, and the first thing that you really need to choose when creating an Instagram ad campaign is the campaign objective. Now, I'm going to recommend that most people go with conversions. I'm assuming that you're going to be sending people to your website or somewhere external to Instagram, and your objective is for people to take a certain action once they get to your website. So for example, if you have a Shopify store and you're sending people from Instagram to your store, you would want to use the conversion objective because you want that person to then go on and purchase. Okay, maybe you're a service-based business and you're sending people from Instagram to your website and you want them to fill out a contact form or become a lead. If you want that sort of thing, which is the vast majority of Instagram advertisers, they want people to go through to their website, take an action. You want to use the conversions objective. By doing that, you're saying to Facebook, I want conversions. I want this action. Please put my ads in front of people on Instagram that are likely to take this action. They're likely to purchase. They're likely to go on to become a lead. Whatever it is, we'll get to the specifics of how you specify the action you want people to take later on. But that's what the conversions objective gets you, okay? So the vast majority of people are gonna wanna go with conversions. There are, of course, a lot of other options. If you can't track conversions, I'm gonna talk about that more in a minute, you might wanna go with traffic, get as many people to your website as possible, or perhaps you want to keep people within Instagram and go with something like lead generation, okay? Or send them over to Facebook Messenger. I've got more content on campaign objectives that I break down in detail. I'll include a link again in the video description below. You can check that out. Majority of you are going to want to go with conversions, and that's what I'm going to focus on in this video, okay? So when we scroll down, we can give the campaign a name if we'd like. I'm just going to quickly call this example Instagram ad campaign, okay? Let's just call this example ad set and example ad, okay? Obviously, you could name it something that's going to be more relevant to you that you're going to remember and all that stuff. Click continue. Then we can see the standard structure of a Facebook, or in this case, an Instagram ad campaign. So we've got, you can see at the top left, we've got the campaign level. Then within that, we've got the ad set level. And then within that, we've got the ad level. 3 levels to an Instagram campaign. We need to go through each level, make sure we've got the right settings set up at each one. This is going to be somewhat of a detailed setup, but you need to get this right because you could have everything set up well with your Instagram ad campaigns, great ads, great targeting options. If you've got one of these settings wrong, the whole thing can fall down. So make sure you sort of go through this, go back through sections if you need to. These details are very important. First thing is special ad category. Okay, so if you fit within one of these special ad categories, so you run ads related to credit or employment or housing or social issues or elections or politics, you need to go ahead and declare it. You need to come in and select one of these options. If you don't and try and run ads anyway, there's a very good chance that Facebook will disable your ad account, stop you being able to advertise, and that's on Facebook and Instagram. You just can't advertise at all, okay? Very, very important. It's part of Facebook's ongoing privacy related concerns and attempts to address any issues is making sure they've got this set up properly. So very, very important that you go ahead and declare if you run ads or offer products or services that are in any of these categories or close to it. Don't take a chance with it. Now, it does mean that if you go ahead and declare that you're in a category, you can have some limited functionality, but it's worth it, okay? But some of these things I'm going to gloss over fairly quickly because otherwise this would be a 4-hour video. So just so you're aware, I have basically separate videos on every single one of these. If you wanted to dig into buying type, for example, you can find that on my channel. Buying type we're going to leave as auction. Campaign objective we've already discussed is conversions. A/B testing, that's definitely not something we're going to be doing. That's a more advanced Facebook and Instagram advertising technique, not something that I do a huge amount of anyway, even though obviously as an agency owner, I'm an advanced advertiser, but not something you need to worry about at this stage. Campaign budget optimization, something I'm going to recommend you turn on. That means the campaign is set at the budget is set at the campaign level as opposed to the ad set level. And what that means is that if you were to have multiple ad sets within your campaign, so let's say you're targeting multiple different audiences within one campaign, Facebook is going to distribute your budget across your ad sets according to performance. So let's say you're targeting men aged 25 to 35 and women aged 25 to 35. Well, if those are separate ad sets and the men aged 25 to 35 perform better, with campaign budget optimization turned on, Facebook will put more of your budget into that ad set and you will get better results because of that. Strongly recommend you turn on campaign budget optimization. Okay, daily budget, campaign budget, we're gonna go with daily budget. And then of course you need to start with a budget. Again, I'm gonna link to another video below talking all about your starting budget. I think this is really important. To summarize, you want to go with something that you can afford to lose, but that matters. It doesn't want to be so small that you don't care and you don't bother checking your campaign. It needs to be big enough where you go, okay, it's significant, but our business is not in trouble if we lose it all, okay? That's a sweet spot. Campaign bid strategy for now, we're going to leave as lowest cost, okay? And that's our campaign level, probably the simplest of the 3 levels when it comes to creating Instagram ads. Now let's go ahead and jump over to the example ad set, which I spelt wrong. Let's get that right. Okay. So I talked at the campaign objective stage about running a campaign optimizing for conversions. Now, of course, there are many different types of conversions that you could optimize for. You could optimize for purchases. You could optimize for add to carts. You could optimize for leads. You could optimize for complete registrations, signups, all sorts of different things. You can even make your own custom conversions. To keep this simple, I'm going to assume that you're either going for purchases or leads, because that's what the majority of businesses are going to be after. They're usually after one or the other. If you're an e-commerce business, you want people to click off of Instagram, go through to your website and purchase. If you're a service-based business, you often want people to click off of Instagram, obviously through your ad, and then go on and inquire for a free consultation, free quote, whatever it happens to be, okay? So what you will therefore want to do is in this conversion event is choose the one that is most appropriate to whatever it is you're after. So I'm just gonna go ahead and select purchase. Now, don't worry about these warnings. This is an example ad account. All sorts of stuff is gonna pop up saying you haven't got this set up. It's because it's an example ad account. When you choose in your conversion event, it is very, very important you go for the event you really want. There's lots of people that will say things like, oh, you shouldn't go for purchases if you're not able to generate 50 plus purchases a week. You should go with something that you're going to generate more of, like add to carts or initiate checkouts or view contents. No, that's highly unlikely to deliver the best results. For the vast majority of Instagram advertisers, even ones that are brand new, you want to be selecting the conversion event that you really want. What is it that you absolutely want most, more than anything else? Nearly everyone wants purchases more than they want add to carts. Of course, you may need an add to cart first to get purchases, but you need purchases. That's the main thing, right? So that's what we're going to go with. Okay, so now you might be wondering, how on earth does Facebook know what a purchase is on my website? How is that data fed back into my ad account? They do that through the Facebook pixel. And I'm gonna, again, there's gonna be quite a few links. This is an involved process. You need to be aware of that. If you want the best results, you've got to get all these things set up properly. I've got resources to help you with all that. There's going to be another link in the video description to a video, very detailed video, about how to set up and install the Facebook pixel on your website. So you can set up the base code, you can make sure that you've got things like the purchase event registered on your website. And that's really important because for this to work, for you to be able to run a conversions campaign, Facebook needs to recognize what a purchase is. Okay, they can see that there are people on your website, they can see they're taking various actions, but you need to inform them, you know what, when someone goes through and does this, that's a purchase. Facebook, I would like you to optimize my Instagram ads for that purchase or for purchases like that. So, Facebook can work out things like people are more likely to purchase when they see your ads at 6 p.m. as opposed to 2 p.m. and therefore run your ads at 6 p.m. They can work out who within your target audience is most likely to purchase. They can work out all sorts of various different elements. How many times does someone need to see an ad on average in order to purchase? That's what using the conversions objective, making sure you have the Facebook pixel installed on your website, allows you to benefit from that machine learning process. And the difference is huge. So on average, a conversions campaign will generate 74% more conversions than a traffic campaign with the same budget. So it is by no means a small improvement to have the Facebook pixel set up and be running a conversions campaign versus something like a traffic. Well worth doing. I know I'm laboring this point a bit, but I really want to get across the importance of this, because if you're an Instagram advertising beginner, it's easy to think, I don't need to bother with the pixel stuff. You really do. So go ahead and get that set up, okay? And then of course, once you've got that set up, you can select the most relevant conversion event. Dynamic creative is not something to worry about, and neither is offers for beginner Instagram advertisers. Okay, then you can set a schedule if you want. You can set an end date. You can have it start in the future. I nearly always create my Instagram ad campaigns to start when I publish them, and I don't set end dates because I own a Facebook ads agency, right? So it's very much part of my job, but I would still recommend that most people advertising on Instagram are checking their ads once a day. Not necessarily making adjustments, but coming in and checking, and you can turn things off manually. You don't need to set an end date. But if you feel more comfortable knowing that it's going to end on a certain time, you're worried about forgetting about it, you can go in and set an end date. We're not going to bother with any of the see more options for this video, at least. Something you can go on to do later on. Okay, then we get to the audience section. Now the audience part is obviously where we're going to be working out who you're going to be advertising to on Instagram. It's a very, very important part of Instagram advertising is the targeting. It's one of the things that made Facebook and Instagram advertising famous, is the ability to target people. And I think to get started with, you want to keep things really simple. You don't want to mess around with custom audiences or lookalike audiences. Again, links in the video description for all that stuff. You want to go ahead and start with relatively straightforward, detailed targeting options. I'm going to show you what I mean in a minute. First thing you need to do though, before we get into detailed targeting, is set your location. Where do you want to advertise? Start by advertising to the places your customers are most likely to come from. And what I mean by that is, let's say you're a local business. So for example, I am based in Cheltenham. And if I pop that in here and I go with Cheltenham, England. So here we go, Cheltenham, Gloucestershire, England. And you can see that Facebook has defaulted to 25 miles around that location. So if you're a local based business and you're like, you know what, we service people within 20 miles of our city, you can come in and change that to 20, or you can make it up to 50, or you can play around with that, okay? If you're a local based business and only work with people in a specific area, you can absolutely do that. If you are a national international business, and the example that we're using here is more of an e-commerce company where we're using the purchase event in our conversions campaign, then you might want to start with the whole of the United Kingdom. Okay, you can absolutely start by advertising internationally as well. Lots of the clients we work with might be based in the UK or based in the US. They will often be advertising to, say, the UK, US, Canada, Australia, New Zealand as an example to get started with. If you want to start with all 5 of those countries, absolutely fine. You can always come back in later and remove the ones that don't perform as well as the others. That's absolutely fine. For this, let's go ahead and stick with the UK. Don't need to overthink this. Just where are your customers most likely to come from? One thing I will mention is don't artificially constrain your geography. So if you can sell your product to the whole of the UK, don't think, yeah, but most of my customers are in London, so I'm just going to target London. You're better off targeting the whole of the UK. Facebook, if most of your customers come from London, Facebook will work that out and most of your ads will be served in London, but they will still also work out that this person in Edinburgh or this person in Manchester is also likely to purchase because they've been on your website before. Whatever. You want to take advantage of that as well. Okay, age is the next thing to worry about. I do like narrowing age where appropriate, but being quite broad, being quite generous. So let's say the majority of your target market is aged 35 to 45. I would probably in that case go with something like 25 to 55. So even though the core is that 10 years, the 35 to 45, we've expanded that to include 10 years either side as well. Again, if your core is there, Facebook's going to work that out, right? The machine learning process is very smart, but you don't want to miss out on people that might fall just outside of there, but still really good prospects. If in doubt, when it comes to Facebook advertising and Instagram advertising in this case, the larger the audience, the better. So better to be too big than too small. Then we get into detailed targeting options. Oh, actually, I've skipped over genders. If you are very heavily skewed one way or the other, say 90+% of your customers are male or female, then I would go ahead and select the appropriate option. If anything more even than that, even something like 80-20, we're going to go with all. Again, same process. Facebook's going to work out, okay, 80% of your target audience is female, but there's still a reasonable chunk of men that purchase this product. Therefore, we're going to make sure those are added in as well. Okay. So often we're going to be going with all. Then we get into detailed targeting. So what I'd usually recommend for a beginner Instagram advertiser is to basically spend some time in here and mess around with the various options that come up. There are external tools. I've got more advanced videos on sort of advanced Facebook targeting research and things like that. But don't do that at the beginning. Just get going, find out how it works, how it performs, what your results are like. Is this something that's going to work for your business? All that sort of stuff, okay? So come in here and just start thinking around the sort of stuff you're going to be advertising. Now I've got an ad prepared that I'm going to show you in the next stage, and that is for a rainbow cake. Okay, so we might come in here, we might search for things like cake. Who's interested in cake? Okay, cake is an interest. Fantastic. Okay. I said we're going to ignore that pop-up for now. Facebook has tons of those all the time. Cake is an interest. How about food? That's going to be a broader interest in there. Okay, we can add in food. Perhaps bakery. If it's a cake, we could have people interested in bakery. So those, I doubt rainbow cake is an option. That's probably too specific. Yeah, I would have thought so. Okay, that's fine. So here you can see we've just grabbed 3 options very quickly. Now what I would do is I would go through this process and keep adding things in. You can even browse through the various categories and just go through a ton of options and spend some time. I'm not going to go through the whole process now. Find some interests that work. What you would then want to do is break each one out into its own ad set. So I'm only going to show one ad set in this tutorial because I think that's fine for getting started. But okay, we've got 3 there. We've got bakery, cake, and food that we want to test targeting. We don't know which one's going to perform better, so we're going to test the 3. Then once we see our results, we're going to then optimize. Okay, out of these 3, cake and food didn't do so well. Bakery did really well. Perfect. Let's go ahead and target bakery going forward. It's a big part of the Instagram advertising process and getting better and getting best results is testing things like this. So what we'd want to do is remove, let's say, food and bakery from this ad set, and then we create new ad sets that just target. So we'd have one for cake, one for food, one for bakery. Now the reason why we go with one detailed targeting option per ad set is because that way we know exactly how it performs. If you bundle them all into one ad set, you're going to get a blended average result when you come and look at your results in a few days' time. Whereas if you have each individual ad set, you could be like, aha, the cake ad set produced a cost per purchase of $5. The bakery ad set produced a cost per purchase of $10. Therefore, cake is much better and you can optimize your campaigns. By the way, if you wanted to create new ad sets, you just minimize that. We're at the ad set level here. You just click on create ad set. It's automatically added into the example Instagram ad campaign unless you change it. And you just go ahead and give that ad set a name and click continue. So very straightforward process. But let's go back into edit the ad set level. Let's scroll back down to our targeting options. One of the things that I would recommend checking is your audience size. So you can see over here, we've got audience definition. Potential reach here is 33 million. That's because all we've narrowed down so far is the UK, people aged 25 to 55, and then detailed targeting expansion is automatically on, which means Facebook has the scope to go beyond people that are just interested in cake and start advertising to everyone who is 25 to 55 in the UK and has a Facebook or Instagram profile, which comes out at 33 million. I want to see how big this audience is, so I'm going to temporarily switch that off. So we can see that in the UK, there are 8.3 million people interested in cake, age 25 to 55. That is a plenty large enough audience, probably a little bit large. I imagine if we, let's just for demonstration purposes, imagine if we went with something like bakery, probably gonna get something a bit smaller, 2.7. That's probably a better size, but I don't have any interest with targeting, I don't have any issue with you targeting cake if you're selling cake, and as I've already mentioned, larger audiences are often better than small, so it's absolutely fine. Let's go ahead and add cake back in. I've also got videos on ideal audience sizes if you really want to drill down and get specific, which you can do. Detailed targeting expansion, I actually wouldn't recommend having that on for your first advertising campaign. It's better to turn that on once your ad account has got more history, where Facebook knows the type of people that purchase from your Instagram ad campaigns and they've got a bit more information to work with. Then I'd come back in and turn it on. But for now, I'd leave it off. Languages, that's really going to be up to you where you're advertising, what's appropriate. If I'm advertising in the UK, for example, I'm going to go with all languages. Just about everyone I advertise to is going to speak English. It's pretty straightforward. And again, I'm going to ignore the show more options for now. Okay, so that's our targeting section set up. We are set with this ad set to go ahead and advertise. Now, the next thing we need to discuss here, I just highlighted, is placements. Placements refers to the locations within Facebook and Instagram where your ads are going to be shown. Now, if you just want to advertise on Instagram, which may well be the case given that you're watching an Instagram ads in 2021 creation video, then you want to go ahead and select manual placements, and you can see that you can deselect the various other options. So you can go, look, I don't want to advertise on Facebook, I don't want to advertise on Audience Network, and I don't want to advertise on Messenger. These are the 4 locations that you can advertise. Basically Facebook and Instagram being the 2 main ones. Then you can see, so you can either do that if you wanted to and just advertise across all Instagram placements, but you can see here that within Instagram, there are still a number of different locations where you might see an ad or where your ad might be shown. So it could be an Instagram feed, Instagram Explore, Instagram Stories. The vast majority are going to come from Instagram feed or Instagram Stories, as you're probably already aware how you interact with Instagram ads sort of as a recipient of them. You can see though, there's tons of different options here and you can get really granular with it. Now, for the vast majority of businesses wanting to advertise on Instagram, I would either go with this exact setup, so just all the Instagram placements is fine, or I would turn everything on if I'm using the conversions objective, which is what I am here. Now remember, Facebook is only going to put your ads on the placements in Instagram, Facebook, Messenger, Audience Network that it believes is likely to get you the best possible results, because you've told Facebook, look, I want purchases. This is what I want from my campaign. So they will go ahead and work that out for you, which is why if you're using the conversions objective, you can go ahead and use, well, basically it would just be automatic placements, and that's absolutely fine. If you really were like, no, my brand is much more suited to Instagram, I'm just in the apparel space, or I just sell food or something really visual, I don't even want to think about growing a brand on Facebook, I'm just all about Instagram, then you can go with this sort of setup, that's fine. One thing I should quickly mention is that if you're going to run the traffic objective or a different campaign objective like video views or something like that, where you're not telling Facebook, I want you to optimize for the thing I really want, like purchases or leads, then it's important to come in and manual placements. And basically what I would do in that case is I would only advertise to feeds and stories. Again, you could do that across Facebook and Instagram or just Instagram, but it's important to get rid of things like Audience Network and some of the other ones that can be lower quality placement options. Okay, right. Hopefully that's placements explained and that's not too difficult. Let's go ahead and scroll down and just quickly cover these. Optimization for ad delivery conversions. Yes, that's what we want. Cost control, we will leave that alone. And that is your ad set level, all set up, okay? Ready to get going. You can see very interestingly, you know how we had 8.3 million people as our targeting option when we set our targeting up here? Well, you can see on the right-hand side, let me get rid of that. Potential reach 5.9 million. So that's gone down because we're just advertising to Instagram here. So obviously there's a whole bunch of people in that age range, interested in cake, that don't have Instagram profiles that are only on Facebook. And there's going to be some that are vice versa as well. Okay, then we go ahead and click next. and we come to the ad level. So first thing you want to do is make sure you've got the right accounts added in here. If you've been through that business manager setup video, you will see exactly how all that works. You can see I've got my Facebook page here, Ben Heath, and I've also got my Instagram account, Ben Heath Marketing, which you can follow, by the way, if you're on Instagram. I release like short little videos giving bits of information, like bite-sized chunks, which is, I think, quite appropriate for Instagram. Anyway, you can go ahead and do that. Find me on there. But just make sure you've got the right one selected if you've got multiple ones. Then we want to move down to this ad setup option here. And there's lots of stuff in here that can be pretty confusing and complicated if you're a new Instagram advertiser. If you're an Instagram advertising beginner, you're like, what's going on? So what I'm going to try and do is focus in on the parts that matter. You can have a play with the other parts later on, but you just need to get started, start understanding the process and the setup, and then look to add those things later on, okay? So what we are going to do, I think, if you're new to this setup, is remove dynamic formats and creative. There are advantages to doing so, but again, it just makes everything a lot more complicated when you first get started. We're also going to focus, I would prefer you to, unless you already have video content created, on a simple image ad. I think you only need to run this campaign for a few days, you don't spend much money on it, but just getting that process underway is what this is all about when you're a beginner. Also keeps things nice and simple. So I'm going to go ahead and select single image or video, remove that warning, there's warnings all the time. And that's basically saying the ad setup, like, look, this is what I want, right? I want to create an ad with an image, or you could use a video, nice and simple. Loads of other options as we talked about, but that's for a later day. Then we get down to the ad creative and we want to add in some media. So I'm going to go ahead and add in an image. You want to click on this add media button, then add image, and you can see you've got account images here. And I've prepared this image already, which is just there's a load of other stuff in here, but don't worry about that, which is just a rainbow cake image, which is what we're going to be using. It's something I've used in an example before. Now you can see that there's two main aspect ratios that we're going to be using, because obviously ads will look different on the Instagram feed as they will on Instagram stories. And you can see actually this image is not well geared up for either at all. And you can edit these or not. You can use different images or not. The options and functionality is quite large. So for example, you can see that the original doesn't quite work. I could try doing that one-to-one, so square, and to be honest, square will often work really well across all Instagram placements. It's like if you only want the one image, then that's what I would recommend go for. But for example, if I had, so this is obviously an image of a rainbow cake, this is an image of a product. If I was hiring a photographer to take images of my products, I'd be like, look, I want some portrait ones that are going to work well on Instagram stories, that are going to do well here. I want some square ones, I want some landscape ones, and then you can go in, of course, and crop these things and all that sort of stuff. It says this image is too small to be cropped because, of course, it'd be 9:16, but you can see the sort of thing that we're doing here. I can do original, I could crop this and, work it out, that, all that sort of stuff. You want to make it look, in fact, let's go back to one-to-one. You want to make it look good visually. Very important. This is the part that people are going to see. We know Instagram is a really visual advertising platform, and it's also absolutely fine to use different images. So for example, I think that looks pretty good, that square image there. We've cropped some of it out, but that works perfectly fine for the feed. But perhaps we want to replace that with a different image, and we can have one with a different aspect ratio. I don't have one prepared, but you can see how that would work for stories to make it different. I'm just using this for demonstration purposes. Okay, so we've added in our images in there, and you can see the preview on the right hand side, and you can see how it's starting to look. This is a really useful tool to keep checking on and looking at when you're running your Instagram ad, when you're creating your Instagram ads, because you can see exactly how it works, right? So you can actually see that because I click cancel off editing the thing, it's actually added the original in. So we could just go with the landscape image if we wanted to, but maybe, so for example, this one we can see here is for the feed, so that's what it's going to look like on feeds, and at the moment that's what it's going to look like on stories, okay? But maybe we don't want that. Maybe the original in a landscape ratio is not quite right. We could come back up and we can click on, for example, edit this group. We can change the image to select a different one. We can crop it. So we've got the original there. We could go with square, make sure that's pulled over across. Click save and you'll see how that changes. If I scroll down, you can see how that changes in the preview, and that's therefore what it's going to look like. Square for feeds works really well. It's going to take up more of the screen than just a landscape image. And then obviously stories, we would want to be uploading a different image entirely, right? Because we want it to take up more. Or again, we could just crop a square one and use that. You can see there's different groupings, right? So if I edit up here, that's going to edit these two placements, Instagram Explore and Instagram Feed. And if I edit this placement here for Instagram Stories, you can see I can come in, I can crop. This is recommended, but that's not gonna work with this image, for example. Not really, but Square will. We can go ahead and click save. And if we scroll down, you can see Square, which I think actually Square often works quite well on Instagram Stories as well. So I said, if you've got one like image format that you want to use, Square will work just fine. So have a little play around with your imagery. You might have to upload a bit and then see how it looks in this preview. Maybe you try a couple different options, but you can always just keep referencing back to see how it looks in here. And yeah, when you're getting started, keep it simple. Like if you just want one image, Square, it's absolutely fine. So we're advertising this rainbow cake, and let's scroll back up because we need to go through the whole ad process. So we've added in our media, which is the first part. Then we want to go ahead and add in our primary text. So I've prepared a little doc here with the primary text. So let's go ahead and grab this. This is very similar to an ad we've actually run for a client, which performed really, really well, which is part of the reason why I wanted to show it. So it hasn't done the spacing, which is a bit annoying, but there we go. Let's just go through this. Yeah, here we go. In fact, is that formatted right? Is that how I had it? Oh no, I've missed the it's only. Oh yeah, no, that is right. Okay, so we've got here then, our signature rainbow cake smothered in white chocolate buttercream frosting and topped with fresh fruit. But the best bit, it's only 150 calories per slice, and we're currently offering a 10% discount. Seriously, click shop now to brighten up your day. So you can see a lot of the things that we're looking to do with this primary text, okay? We are really selling it. We're evoking a lot of emotion. It's absolutely, buttercream frosting topped with fresh fruit. We're also highlighting the benefits of the product. It's only 150 calories a slice, way less than equivalent. And then we're adding in some urgency and some reason for someone to take action now, as opposed to going, oh, that looks nice, I'll order some next week, and then they forget. There's a 10% discount. Go ahead and grab it. Because this is quite a fun product offering, it's quite casual. We didn't want it to be all businessy. Instagram's not really a place to be super like businessy and formal. So, you can see we've got emojis in here. We've got things like seriously, click now to brighten up your day. We've got like a mind blown emoji in there. So we're having a bit of fun with the copy, which you can absolutely do. And you want it to be in tune and in accordance with your brand. Is something I'd strongly recommend. Okay. Before I move on to the headline, actually, which is this section here, I just want to quickly talk a little bit more about the image. And let's, the scroll is a little bit frustrating, so you can see it here. With Instagram, because it's such a visual platform, having an image that really stands out and grabs people's attention is so, so important. Same with a video. So think about things, how you can inject a lot of color. How can you display your product or display the work that you do for clients in a way that is going to grab people's attention, that is visually appealing? A rainbow cake is sort of perfectly designed for that in a way, because it's bright, you see that, you're a little bit hungry, you're scrolling down, you're like, oh wow, that looks fantastic, I really want one of those. Okay, it's just the sort of thing, and that's why these sorts of businesses, food, often anything fashion related, is going to work really well on Instagram because of that visual element. Of course, we advertise all sorts of businesses on Instagram. You don't have to be in those spaces. There's lots of different businesses can work, but just have a little think about, how can I make my creatives stand out from when someone's scrolling down the feed or flicking through stories? Boom, that looks great. I'm going to go ahead and check that out. So just a little aside there. Then we get on to the headline, which isn't actually going to appear in many Instagram placements. You can see it's actually optional, but I'm just going to show you what we used, because I said we originally ran this ad on both Facebook and Instagram, and the headline is much more prominent when you run an ad on Facebook than it is on Instagram. But you can just see what we're going with to help you guys out. Mouth-wateringly good low-calorie cakes. Like, how good is that? How descriptive. It highlights the benefits. These things are delicious, but they're low calorie. Just the sort of thing you want to go ahead and eat and buy and all that sort of stuff. Okay. Again, there's lots of options here that you can use. You can add lots of different options for testing. That's not what I want you to worry about when you're just getting started. Call to action. We're going to go with the one that most accurately applies to your business and whatever it is you're advertising. So this one we've gone with shop now, but you can see there's lots of different options here that apply. I think when you're advertising like an e-commerce product, which is what this is, which is an e-commerce business is advertising, in this case, cakes, then you want to go ahead and use the call to action button the most appropriate. You can see we've put this in the primary text here. So if someone's actually reading through the text associated with the ad, click shop now to brighten up your day. We've got a call to action in the primary text, which is what I really like. And that has to then, of course, correspond to the call to action button. If I scroll down, well, you can't actually see it in this preview, but there would be a shop now button. You'll see it actually come up on the stories. It's got my page and website there. You can see the shop now on the stories placement. Okay, let's go ahead and back up. URL, that's obviously the place to send them. So in this case, it would be the product page associated with this rainbow cake. I'm just going to pop in my website URL, just so it gets rid of the warning messages and things like that. Display links, you could display something slightly different, optional. Again, that's not going to appear much on, it's much more of a Facebook ad placement thing. So obviously the different placements you can see between Facebook and stories, right? The different placements ads look different for obvious reasons. Instant experience, Facebook event, not things you need to worry about to get started with. Neither is languages. Provided you've got your Facebook pixel set up, you should see tracking all set up and this stuff down here. I said there's tons of information that gets when I first started advertising on well, it was Facebook at that time, and then obviously it was added to Instagram 7-8 years ago. This was so much more straightforward. There's so much more functionality, which is great for those of us who know what we're doing because it gives us more options, but really difficult for Instagram advertising beginners. So I would encourage you to try and ignore a lot of this stuff down here, app events. And then we've got that ad. So now if we wanted to run this ad, for example, in this campaign, this is now fully ready to go live. And then you can come back in a few days' time, check your results, make adjustments. I would generally recommend that you assess your results over, say, a 7 to 10 day period. When you launch a new Instagram ad campaign, you will go through a thing called the learning phase. Again, I'll include a link down below to a video about the learning phase, how it works. What it basically means is Facebook's doing a lot of experimentation with your ad when it's new. They're putting it in front of different people to see how it performs. They are testing at different times of the day. So during that testing phase, which is really important, it will help your results over the long run because they're finding out answers, your results tend to be all over the place. So it's important not to be disheartened if for the first 2 or 3 days your results don't look very good. Over time, they're highly likely to improve. And also you're able to adjust stuff. So as I said, you might have 3 or 4 different ad sets and you might then edit them down and just go with 1 or 2 that perform really well. If you had a bunch of different images or a bunch of different products, you could absolutely add other ads in. So for example, if I close this down, we're at the ad level right now. So I've got example ad, but that could be a rainbow cake ad. I could go ahead and, create a new ad and add another ad into this ad set. And that one could be for a different type of cake, or perhaps it's the same cake, but a different image, or perhaps it's the same cake, same image, but a different primary text. Okay. These are all the various elements that as professionals, as professional Facebook and Instagram advertisers, this is what we will be doing for our clients on a regular basis, is testing out targeting options, ad creative, ad headlines, all that sort of stuff. But this is ready to go. You can see that this is obviously in draft mode, but once you've launched this campaign, once it's been approved, once it starts running, you will start to see the data associated with it. And have a lot of fun. Instagram advertising can be incredibly successful, incredibly profitable. We have worked with brands that have absolutely exploded from successful Instagram advertising. I think if you've decided this is going to be an important part of your business, well done. That is for the vast majority of people, vast majority of small businesses, a good decision. I wish you the best of luck with it. Before you go, a couple of things I want to quickly mention. The first is a free webinar I've created called 3 Killer Facebook Ad Strategies to Double or More Your Revenue. And I know it's called Facebook Ad Strategies, but it really encompasses both Facebook and Instagram advertising. And in that, we've got, in addition to what I've taught you here, a lot more detail and a lot more information around the structure of how you want to structure your sales funnels to sell products. Some things like cakes you can just sell directly to your customers. Other things require more steps, more intricacy. That webinar is completely free. It'll show you all about that. Link is in the video description below. Strongly recommend you check that out. Other free thing I want to mention is my Facebook Ads Mastermind group. Again, it's both Facebook and Instagram advertising because Facebook Ads is kind of an umbrella term that covers both. But there's 120,000 members in that group, one of the biggest communities of people just like you trying to advertise on Facebook and Instagram and get great results in the world. If you want to get involved, you can ask questions, you can get them answered. I think you'd find it really, really useful. Completely free. Again, link is in the video description. If this is useful, please give it a like. That really helped me out. Please subscribe to the channel for more Facebook and Instagram advertising related content, just like this, answering all sorts of other questions and a lot of advanced stuff as well. And a comment below, by the way. I get to most comments on my channel still, where I find the time. So if you've got questions, by all means pop them in the comments, and I will talk to you soon. Thanks a lot, guys. Bye for now.